the thousands of obeisances at the lotus feet of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and his Guru, our Param Guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Ṭhākura, on the day of his Tirobhav. We pray to their lotus feet that we may serve Lord Nityananda in his mission to bring Krishna Prema to all the souls of this world. Firstly, the expansion that comes from Krishna is Baladev. And Baladev is the same as Krishna, except in color and attitude. His color is whitish, and his attitude, or abhiman, is for seva. He's the first, and he's the sum total of all feelings and facilities for service to Krishna. For service, he expands himself into the Chaturvyuha. He expands himself into Mula Sankarshan, into Mathura, and into Dwarka, where he expands all the paraphernalia for Krishna's use. He's the master of Sandhini, a potency which makes all the forms of the spiritual world, and those are all used in Krishna's service. For instance, Krishna's shoes, his bed, his Brahman's thread, his entire infrastructure of the spiritual world, it comes from Balaram. He maintains it. And then, as we just read, the next expansions from Baladev are in the form of Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu then glances at the material world. He expands himself into each universe as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Then he expands himself again as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, becomes the Paramatma within everyone's heart. And of course, he's there within every atom. He's all pervading. And as if that wasn't enough, he also expands himself into Shesha. Shesha means the remainder. Remainder means any other service left over after he's manifested in all these different ways, he'll take that too. What's more, he expands himself into the living entities. And the living entities are expanded so that Krishna's service can be expanded. The living entities are asankhya, they're uncountable because they're unlimited. And they're all meant for arranging ways to serve Krishna. And there are uncountable ways in which Lord Balaram expands himself to make facility for Krishna's service. And as we just chanted, the manifestation of Lord Balaram in this yuga is Lord Nityananda. So Lord Nityananda is Balaram, and he's the servant of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu, helps him in expanding the Sankirtana movement. He serves as the guru, and he's said to be the samasti guru, which means the sum total of all guruship. And all those who are taking the role of guru, teachers for others to bring them to Krishna consciousness, are representatives of Lord Nityananda or Lord Balaram, source of all spiritual strength. Thus, some ideas about Nityananda or Balaram Tattva. Then, of course, we finally made the trek, at least Nirkula and me, because she's been talking about it for years, and we keep putting it off to come here, and we're glad we did. Do you like it? It's the best ever. Nityananda Prabhu, as we already saw, and we had the benefit of visiting the place where he appeared, from Harai Pandit and Padmavati, his parents. his father had named him Kuvera. So as a child he was Kuvera, and during his appearance everyone perceived, just as he had been born in this place, that there were no more anomalies. There's always something going wrong in the material world, but it all stopped and everyone became peaceful with the appearance of Lord Nityananda. What's more, everybody in eka-cakra fell in love with this child, Kuvera. They didn't know why, but they loved him even more than their own children. And Kuvera, as a child, was constantly engaged 24 hours a day in remembering Krishna and his pastimes. As a little boy, he would play with all his friends. And their play was a reenactment of the pastimes of Krishna. For instance, they performed the Janma Lila of Krishna. Some of the boys would take the role of Bhumi, the cow, and somebody else would take the role of Brahma, and Bhumi would go to Brahma and say that there's an unnecessary defense, there's an unnecessary buildup of these materialistic kings who are on the planet, please help. It's a great burden. And then the boys would go to the Ganga and they would stand there as if they were at the shore of the milk ocean, just like in the Bhagavatam. And then one of them would chant, Sahasra Shirja Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Savuming Vishato Vritvat Atyatishtat Shangulam. And then another one would make a transmission of the message from Krishna in their drama that I'll appear and I order all the demigods to also appear in the world. And in other plays, they would make effigies of different demons. They used canes, and they would build these figures of demons like Bakasura, and then they would break them in the pastime of killing the various demons. And they enacted the pastime of Kaliya, and they would dance on the heads of Kaliya. And they also performed the pastime of Bali Maharaj, and how Vaman Dev then just asked him for 3 steps of land, but took the whole universe. And in playing the pastimes of Lord Ram, Kuvera would always play the part of Lakshman, his eternal position as Krishna's brother. And in the play, there's a section where Lakshman is struck by the Shakti weapon of the son of Ravan. And it had all been choreographed, and one of the boys who was playing the part of the son of Ravana threw a flower, and it hit Kuvera in the chest, and then he collapsed and fell to the ground. But then he didn't get up. So everyone in the town, in the village, was watching the play, and they saw that he had fallen to the ground, but then he didn't get up. And they began to panic, and the boys started to cry. And then there was a man in the audience that remembered that many years ago there had been a play about Dasarath, and the person who was playing Dasarath at the time when Ram had left and Dasarath was feeling so much separation that the player died. He was so absorbed in the play. This is where method acting originally came from. He was so absorbed in the role itself that when Dasarath dies in the play, the man actually died, and the person, an elderly person who was watching the play, remembered that, and he said, he's probably in a faint, as was Lakshman. He was knocked out by the Shakti weapon, and he said, "Who's playing Hanuman?" And one of the boys raised his hand, and he said, "You have to go get the herbs and bring them back." So the boy sprang off and remembered his role. He went up and to the Mandana mountain, and then he needed the Sanjivani herb, and he wasn't an expert in Ayurveda herbs, so he just grabbed the whole mountain. And then he came back and he brought it, and one of the boys who was trained to play the Ayurvedic doctor there, he took the herb and he put it before Kuvera's nose, and he came back to life. And the people would watch in amazement how every day they would enact a new pastime of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one of them, the elders, said to little Kuvera, he said, "How do you know all these pastimes?" And Kuvera, with a big smile, said, "These are my pastimes." So that was as a child. Up until 12 years old, he stayed here in eka-cakra. And at 12, then a sannyasi came. Now, Prabhu was showing us the place where he had been handed over by his father. So his father didn't want to obviously hand him over, but he had entertained this sage at his home, and the sannyasi, and said, "Whatever you'd like, please let me give you something." And they said, "Well, there is one thing. I'm elderly now. I want to go to all these holy places, and I need a servant, so how about your son?" And just then, Hadai Pandit felt like a thunderbolt had struck his heart. And then he obviously remembered Ayodhya, and he remembered Dasarath, and how Vishwamrita had come there. And Vishwamrita had done a similar thing and asked for Ram and Lakshman. And at that time, Dasarath had hesitated. But the Vaiśeṣika pulled him aside and said, "Don't hesitate. This is Vishwamrita." Just besides that, you don't know this, but your son is God, so don't worry. He's going to come back. All this Hadai Pandit remembered. And of course he offered his son, but it describes when the sannyasi left, he and his wife stood like painted pictures. They couldn't move, and Hadai Pandit didn't eat for months afterwards. He was in so much separation. And meanwhile, between the ages of 12 and 20, Kuvera, who now became Nitai Swarup, Nityananda Swarup, as serving as a brahmachari under the sannyasi. He went to crisscrossed India to all the various holy places, and one after another he would go there, take bath in all the holy rivers, visit all the deities, and he finally came to Vṛndāvana. And when in Vṛndāvana, he rolled in the dust of Ramanreti. He remembered his pastimes with his brother Krishna. But now when he got to Vṛndāvana, he was feeling so much separation. And he was asking everyone. He would embrace the residents of Vṛndāvana, he would embrace the cows, and he'd ask each one of them, "Where's my brother? Where is my brother Krishna?" And then an Akashvani came and said, "Your brother has appeared in Navadvip Dham as Caitanya Mahāprabhu's Nimai Pandit." Meanwhile, back in Navadvip, Caitanya Mahāprabhu had a dream. And in his dream, he saw a chariot come before his house. And there was a flag on the chariot. It bore the emblem of the banana tree, palm tree. And then an effulgent personality came off of the chariot and said, "Where is Nimai Pandit? Where is Nimai Pandit?" And then Nimai said, "I am Nimai Pandit." And Nityananda said, "I will meet you tomorrow." And then the dream broke. So then Nimai Pandit told all of his associates, he said, "There's a great personality coming here. So Nityananda did come to Navadvip, but he didn't come directly to meet the devotees. He went, of course, to Nandana Acharya's house. Nandana Acharya's house is a little bit down by the Ganges, and Nityananda Prabhu hid there. Actually, he just went there and he sat down in the house of Nandana Acharya like a yogi, and he went into trance, and he sat there. And that day, Nimai Pandit announced to Srivas Thakur and Haridas Thakur, he said, the great personality I told you about has come. He said, you should go find him. And they went looking everywhere, and they came back disappointed. They said, we cannot find him anywhere. We've checked every house, we went door to door, we went to every cowshed, he's not here. So then Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, come with me. And he brought Srivas and Haridas and all the associates, and they went to the house directly of Nandana Acharya, and there was Nityananda Prabhu sitting in meditation. And they all offered obeisances to him. And then there's the meeting of Gaur and Nitai. And they sit holding one another's hands, staring into one another's eyes. And that brings us to the Nityananda Ashtakam. What page? '78. Everyone ready? I'll bring your attention to verse number 3. I perpetually worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the root of the Krishna Bhakti tree, who is very dear to Sri Sachinandana, who is worshipped by the entire universe, who is the embodiment of happiness, who possesses infinite mercy for delivering the souls who are drowning in the age of Kali, and who by the performance of Sri Harinam Sankirtana thwarts the progressing false pride of the ocean of repeated birth and death. And then, number 5, I perpetually worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the root of the Krishna Bhakti tree, who wandered around Bengal and approaching the door of each and every home, raised his arms up high and exclaimed, "O brothers, all of you should eternally perform Sri Harinam Sankirtan together. By doing so, I will take the responsibility to deliver all of you from the ocean of material existence." So Nityananda Prabhu had joined with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, and then Mahaprabhu, of course, took sannyas and he went to Jagannath Puri. And the devotees from Navadvip every year, including Nityananda Prabhu, would come down to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after several visits, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Nityananda Prabhu aside. And he said, now I am sitting here in Jagannath Puri, and who will spread the Sankirtan movement to all the people of Bengal? He said, you have to do it. So he deputed Nityananda Prabhu to go throughout Bengal with his associates to spread the Sankirtan movement. And we can remember this verse, Lord Nityananda raising his arms up high and saying, all of you should eternally perform Sri Harinam Sankirtan together. By doing so, I will take the responsibility to deliver you all from the ocean of material existence. I just want to note that in the pastime of Kavirāja Gosvāmī, that he had a dispute with his brother because his brother had faith in Lord Caitanya but not in Lord Nityananda. And of course, Minikatana Ramdas had come to a festival at Kavirāja Gosvāmī's house, and his Kavirāja Gosvāmī's brother disrespected him because Minikatana Ramdas was a devotee of Lord Nityananda. And because of that, Kavirāja Gosvāmī left his own home. He said, I won't stay here another minute, and he immediately left. He didn't want to be implicated in the offense to Lord Nityananda, and he stayed some ways away from his home, and that night he had a dream of Lord Nityananda who had come to him out of appreciation for his mood and faith and devotion. And he told him, go to Vṛndāvana, for there you will attain all things. And he did. In Vṛndāvana, he, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas and the Supreme Lord himself, was empowered to write about, actually not just write about, but to personally see the pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu and be able to compile from the notebooks of the great devotees who had been with Mahāprabhu the whole Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. And one of the points that he makes there is that he said, I'm old, my fingers are shaking, my eyes are failing me. I could pass at any moment. He said, it's a wonder that I'm able to sit here and write this. And he also, in great humility, says, I'm such a low person that if anybody says my name, they'll lose all their pious credits. He said, I'm lower than a worm in stool. And these are heartfelt utterings of humility. And those who take shelter of Lord Nityānanda Prabhu, who's merciful to all, he's called Adoṣa-darśī. He doesn't see the faults in anyone. Adoṣa-darśī means anyone who approaches him with some eagerness in his or her heart to serve, he empowers them and gives them pure devotional service, which is impossible to get otherwise. So the process of devotional service comes through eka-cakra and comes through Nityānanda and Gaura. Without approaching Lord Caitanya and Lord Nityananda, it's impossible to enter into Vṛndāvana. Narottama Ṭhākura writes in his famous bhajan about how when one dives into the ocean of the pastimes of Lord Caitanya and Lord Nityananda, which are the pastimes of Sankirtana, then one comes out on the shore of the ocean of Rādhā-Kṛṣṇa's pastimes. So by performing vaidhī bhakti over many, many lifetimes, one may attain Vaikuṇṭha, says Kavirāja Gosvāmī. But if one approaches Lord Nityananda and Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu in service in the Sankirtana movement, then one can easily come to the highest position in the spiritual world, Goloka Vṛndāvana, where spontaneous love is flowing. Om Tat Sat. Any reflections or thoughts? We have 3 minutes left.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I had a question actually. So, why is it that Nityananda Prabhu and Mahāprabhu have different parents? Like, generally we see in previous incarnations of theirs, they always share the parents. But in this case, we see that Mahāprabhu has Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata, and obviously Nityananda Prabhu has Hadai Pandit and Padmavati Mata. So could you maybe describe why they decided to separate their mothers and fathers in this incarnation?
Well, one reason that's mentioned by our acharyas, that, and this is more of a general answer, that the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took their appearance, made their appearance, and in such disparate areas, even areas beyond where the Ganges flows, which is considered, if you're born outside of the area where the Ganges flows, didn't get a very good birth. But they say that Mahaprabhu had his eternal associates appear in various places so that circumference would be wider and more people would be involved. But there's, yeah. Any other things? Yes.
I'm just reflecting, Hare Krishna, I'm just reflecting on like how Sankirtana went today.
Yes.
I think that previously it's been a huge struggle just to get like people to take books, especially for many of us who don't speak Bengali. It's very hard, but like I think a lot of us had this experience where it was like like if you were carrying that box of books, some people would just come up to you and ask for books. And I think Ian and I had an experience where we just walked up to somebody, that person didn't even look at us, they just gave 10 rupees and we gave the book because like they just kind of knew what was going on and they were interested. So I think it's just all like, it's very, very powerful to see the mercy of Lord Nityananda here in Dham itself. I just think that he's making, like, I've heard devotees say, Krishna says, Yayatamam prapadyante tam seva bhajan, you take the first step and then I'll reciprocate. Lord Chaitanya says, you stay there and I'll run out, I'll come to you. But then Lord Nityananda says, you can run away but I'll chase you still. So I kind of saw Lord Nityananda's mercy and how well Sankirtan did today.
Yeah, I like how you're making that the barometer every day. It's a very useful to do that. And by feeling, when you come in to distribute books here, you can see Lord Nityananda's pervasive mercy. Well done.
The Prabhu had to stop us. We won't be able to see the faces.
Yeah, he could see. The devotees were addicted. They couldn't stop, and he noticed. Couldn't stop distributing books. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and Srila Saraswati Ṭhākura, Prabhupada, on this day of your disappearance here in the holy Dham of eka-cakra, we've come here to beg your mercy. Please give us the wherewithal to perform unlimited service in the Sankirtana movement, and please give us a taste for hearing and chanting in the association of devotees. Thank you very much for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone who agrees with this prayer in whole or in part, please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpaduruscha kripasniveva patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha anantakoti vaishnavidiki jai nitai namineche namirhate shadamulinam tite chere Nitai namineche namirhate shadamulinam tite chere.